I see the woman as like the oracle, and she has this deep innate wisdom that you just have because you're a woman. We're taught that we have to work for everything in life, and in some respect you kind of do have to work for the capacity and the ability to listen to yourself. But ultimately all you have to do is listen. I started out in this world with a ton of daddy issues. The lens that I was looking through pretty much my whole life was, how do I make dad proud? I felt like I was always in competition. I think this is a very classic experience for the feminine. It's like we have to compete to get what we want and to be loved. We're always going to continue to deepen our love and trust for ourselves, and in doing that, we will be faced with the worst parts of ourselves. And on the other side of your deepest, darkest fear is the next layer of love for yourself. I think this is a wound that the majority of women in this society have, is the too much wound. Just like the don't be too much. Don't be crazy. Don't be psycho. The problem is not that you're having these big emotions and this big experience. The problem is when you project it onto somebody else, make it somebody else's problem.
Welcome back to the Home to Self podcast, everyone. Today on the show, I've got Meli Wolf. Meli is a beautiful, dear friend of mine here in Boulder. I actually just moved in, 5 minutes from you. And so that's really exciting. Neighbors now as well. And you are the co-host of the Babe Philosophy podcast, so a fellow podcast host, which I love. You're in this world as well and diving into all the same conversations, honestly, about self-development, spirituality, womanhood, relationships, all the good things that help us really live a more embodied, authentic life that is true to us. And so today's conversation is going to be about all of that, and especially doing it the feminine way and what that actually means, right? To actually embody our truth as women and start to trust ourselves, regain our confidence, and create a life that is in alignment with what we want to create. And I know that that has been so much of your journey as well. So first and foremost, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Mama. I'm so excited to be here. I'm like, excuse me, I haven't podcasted in like a month. So this is my first podcast back since like getting married and going on a honeymoon. So I'm like, okay, let's do this.
Yay!
Let's see how it goes. Does she still have it? I don't know.
Sometimes that's the best though, when you take some time off and you come back fresh and you've taken care of yourself. So I have a feeling it'll be a good one. And yeah, tell the listeners a little bit about you. We'll get into your story in just a second, but tell us a little bit about who Meli is and what you love to talk about, what you love to do.
Okay. So I'm Meli. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. As you know, I'm a podcast host, and I am like everybody else, just like discovering who she is day by day and evolving day by day. I love to, just like your podcast, Mama, I love to talk about all things like feminine, relationship, existential, like what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? What is authentic, what is not, whatever, all of it. I love deep conversations. I love philosophizing, hence the name of my podcast. And I'm very motivated by like relationship and deep intimacy. It feels like a very core piece of my life, both with my partner and my gal pals and everybody in between. Yeah, that's like energetically, I feel like where I'm at in my life right now, without getting too much into like where did I come from and what do I do and how did I get here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll dive into that, but that's where I feel most of the listeners are as well, right? Is like on some journey of self-discovery, of figuring out who am I aside from what I've been told I should be, and all these different titles and roles that I have adopted along the way. It's this like unbecoming to rebecome your true self journey that is the basis of this show as well, and so much of what you talk about. And so I want to start off with a question of what does being a woman mean to you in through the lens of the journey that you have been through. And again, we'll get into your specific journey in just a minute, but like really what has this journey of self liberation, self development helped you realize is like the beauty of being a woman?
Good question. Oh, this could go so many directions too. Through my lens, I really think that there's a lot of different things I feel like that make womanhood so rich. And through my own lens, I think a big one, I don't know why this one's the one that's coming to me off the top of my head right now, but it's the I see the woman as like the oracle. And she is has this like deep innate wisdom we all as a woman that you just have because you're a woman. Period. Dot. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to like go find it. You don't have to acquire it in any way. You just have it because you are a woman, and it's in your lineage, it's in your heart, it's in your body, it's in your soul. And I think for me on my specific path, coming into that and like really feeling what that means and dropping into the allowing of, oh, I can just have this thing that I don't actually have to work for, that I just have to listen to. And that's like a crazy concept, right? Because we're taught that we have to work for everything in life. And in some respect, you kind of do have to work for the capacity and the ability to listen to yourself. But ultimately, all you have to do is listen. And I think that's what makes, what was the question you said? Like, what makes being
Yeah.
a woman?
What is it like? What does it mean to be a woman to
Yeah,
you?
what does it
Like,
mean to
what
be a
is the
woman?
beauty of that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for myself, that that like oracle piece has really been what has led me into being a woman and really embodying what being a woman is, as opposed to like what being a man is, being that feminine energy versus the masculine, being the omega versus the alpha. Like it's that kind of flowy, all knowing, accepting, taking in, and being able to understand things on a level that's like beyond the analytical, beyond the problem solving. It's just kind of this feminine knowing. And in relationship with Matt, my now husband, um, I think that's been the biggest initiation for me into in our relationship for in the context of me becoming more of my woman, becoming more feminine, is the allowing of him to see me as and allow that space for me to kind of be the oracle and like say what I need to say, tell him what my intuition is. And even though it doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense, for him to be able to like trust my oracle and be like, okay, like I'm gonna not gonna listen to everything you say because you say it, but like I'm going to trust that your wisdom is speaking to something here. And same thing for me. It's like in my experience of myself, can I listen to my inner wisdom and know that there is this oracle piece of womanhood that is just innate in my body.
Yeah. Wow, that was beautifully said. And I totally agree. I feel like the feminine is this, there's this capacity to feel and see beyond what is right here. And I think that the more we can go on that journey to trust that and to connect to our bodies, right, and reconnect our intuition, that gets to be such a powerful force. And the dynamic with the masculine, when both polarities can be rooted in their strengths, work so divinely together. And I've seen that so much in my relationship as well. And so with that journey, right, of like, okay, if that is the beauty and the power of the feminine, so many of us don't start there, right? Our society
Mm.
actually teaches us quite the opposite of following the head and logic, and it's very a very masculine approach in this patriarchy. And so for a lot of women, they're still kind of stuck there. It's like they intuitively know they could get there and what the beauty is, but they are still very feels like very far from that, even though at the end of the day, we all still have it within us. But so, what has been your journey? Because I know you shared on Instagram a little bit about your journey and your story, and I'd love for you to dive a little bit deeper if you'd like, of really going from having all the things on paper, all the things that society tells you you should have in order to be happy and successful, and still feeling disconnected on the inside, still feeling like something's not right, right? And then
Totally.
starting to go on a different journey, which takes so much like dissolution and letting go of what you thought you needed to be, identities, shedding identities, and stepping into the unknown. And so I'd love to hear a little
Mm.
bit about your story.
Yeah. Yes, that is exactly what it has been. I started, well, gosh, where do I start? In my adult life, I was very driven to do what I was told to do, and I don't think I really had the like critical thinking skills to even consider that there was a different way of doing things. Like it was like you go to high school, and you go to college, and then and then you go to grad school, and then you do the job that you studied in grad school, and then you get a husband, and then you get married, and then you have kids, and that's the life that you do, and it makes the most sense. And I actually never really remember questioning that. I feel like that was just kind of something that I was like, yep, that's the blueprint. Let's go, plug and chug. And um, my mom is a very she's very chill now, but she was very strict growing up, and she's a Nicaraguan woman that came from Nicaragua to live here. My dad was pretty chill hippie dude, businessman, like super good with words, but he had a very strong relationship with my sister and a very challenging relationship with me. So I started out in this world with a ton of daddy issues. And so, really, the lens that I was looking through pretty much my whole life was how do I make dad proud? How do I not get in trouble with mom? And because mom was all about being proper and beautiful, and dad was all about being successful. And in my mind, right, like maybe that isn't what they would say about their desires for me, but like I perceived that this is what they wanted. So that was really my focus in life. And because of just like a lot of challenges growing up with feeling like I belonged, like I felt like I was always in competition. I felt like I was always in competition with my sister for my parents' attention. I had a friend group where I was always in competition for the people that I like wanted to be connected to the most. And there was just this like competition for love, competition for success, competition, competition, competition. I think this is a very like classic experience for the feminine, for women in the society, especially. It's like we have to compete to get what we want and to be loved and to be chosen. And so I went into all of the things that I thought would get me a leg up, right? It was always like, how do I get higher than it sounds so yucky to say out loud, but like, how do I be better than the people around me so that I'm the one who's liked first? You know?
It's a
Um,
survival strategy.
dude, so
Yeah.
crazy. So yeah, so I started bodybuilding because that was like the most literal translation in my mind to how can I be so fucking attractive and beautiful and nobody can like say otherwise because objectively I am like so I got really into bodybuilding and yeah, it kind of like I rode this like superiority wave for a long time of like I'm better than other people, which really was a result of my inferiority complex.
Mhm.
And and then I decided that, I want to be like a professional bodybuilder and I want to be a doctor. So those were like in my mind where I live. Those were the two things that would get me like the most clout, in this world.
Well,
And
yeah, it makes so much sense. Your
yeah,
mom, you're fulfilling the beauty side, and on your dad, you're fulfilling the brains and the success
yes, yeah,
requirement.
like the monetary side, exactly.
Yeah.
And then at it all looked right, right? It all fucking checked out. It was so fucking perfect. I was like, this
Mhm.
is so perfect. Like, this is exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to crush it. And I'm going to be the best of it. Like, I'm going to just be amazing. Everyone's going to love me. But really, that was the motivation for all of it, was like, I just want everybody to love me. And it wasn't that I actually wanted to do, it wasn't that I loved those things. It was that I wanted people to love me. So, I mean, it's a classic story, it's just my own flavor. I feel like you hear this with everybody in their like becoming experience. It's like the motivation is outside of ourselves before it is inside of ourselves. And we get
Mhm.
lost along the way. And I sure did. But it looked great, like I had all these sponsorships. I was a doctor. All this stuff. And I felt really good about myself when I could see on paper, like what I was doing. But on the inside, I really didn't know what I was doing for myself. And um, I couldn't figure it out. Like I was not connected to spirituality. I actually really resented spirituality. I thought spirituality was fucking weird. And like, I didn't want to talk about meditating. I didn't want to talk about God. I didn't want to like get weird and woo woo. Like, I didn't want to talk about anything happening for any reason other than science. Like, it was, I was like a straight shooter. And then I ended up in a relationship that was kind of, God, I've never said this out loud, but I think it might have been one of my biggest blessings, because it was so horrible that it like was the thing that sent me to rock bottom so that I could actually change directions. And yeah, I was engaged to this man who was not interested in growth. And I was so desperate to grow. But I didn't know how. And I kind of needed somebody to like be on that path with me. And he just was not available. And ultimately, we just reinforced the worst parts of each other. And we got engaged. I got pregnant. I ended up saying, and that was like literally, we were in this super toxic, really, really abusive relationship. And it wasn't until we got engaged and I got pregnant that I was like, okay, now I'm going to leave, because it like, I'm a learn it the hard way kind of girly,
Yeah, me
is
too.
what I've realized in life. So I left, and that's when I started to find like spirituality. And I actually dated a like breath work guide, behavioral coach, like, so went right into that world like so hard, so fast. And it was actually like way too much for me, and that relationship didn't end up working out. But um, you know, through that transition, I was able to see a whole different world that I didn't have eyes on before, and like slowly start to incorporate it in ways that worked for me. Um, and ultimately, I was operating on a system that was just like I said, purely based for validation, being loved, and like an outdated kind of like framework of, really, like you said, with the patriarchy, really emphasizing like the masculine parts of myself, to the point where like I was always into art growing up, but I didn't paint, I didn't dance, I didn't do anything during this period of my life. And then slowly in the past like maybe 5 years now, I have started to paint again, dance again, connect to like my spirit, whatever higher powers, and really like get more witchy and find my oracle. And it's been through a lot of, like you said, shedding these belief systems and these thoughts of how I have to be in order to be accepted and loved, and really turning the finger back to myself and asking myself, like, what do I need for me to accept and love myself? Because ultimately, the majority of my life, I was living for acceptance and love from others, but not actually finding acceptance and love within myself. And I am nowhere near like what I would say would be like done with that process, because I actually feel like I'm in the middle of it. Like I'm in the dead center of it, where I'm like, okay, I know this stuff. I understand this stuff. I've been working on this stuff. And there's so many layers that I need to dive into to actually find it's like, okay, I can accept and love this part of myself, but then there's another layer of myself that I have to learn to accept and love, and another layer, and another layer, and another layer. So ultimately, that has been another piece of this journey that's like really humbling. It's like there's never really an end game, and it's going to be a constant evolution, and we're always going to continue to deepen our love and trust for ourselves. And in doing that, we will be faced with the worst parts of ourselves and the scariest things that we can possibly imagine. And that's unfortunately on the other side of your deepest, darkest fear is the next layer of love for yourself.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I resonate so deeply. I'm like, you know, I don't know, 6 years into this journey, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good. And then you're just hit with another layer and it's just like more intense and deeper and deeper.
Yes.
But it is, I feel like the harder it gets, the more beautiful the reward is on the other side too. And so that is like the motivation because I feel like a lot of times on this podcast, I'm just talking about how hard it is and how intense it is and whatnot. But it's so worth it, you know?
It's so worth it. And that actually brings up a really great point that I constantly have to remind myself over and over and over again, which is, you know, it seems like the more I do this work, like the harder it is, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm sitting here like, why do I even fucking do this? This is so challenging. Like I think about this all the time where I'm like, I just want to go back to like shoving everything under the rug. Like, you know what I
Ignorance
mean?
is
Like it's
bliss.
just so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remember that like for every ounce of challenge and pain that I'm experiencing, it's like the it's an indication of the deepening and the expanding of my capacity for being human, and that's ultimately a gift. And like the more pain I can feel is directly proportional to the amount of joy and love I can feel. So like every time I'm in this just like shitty, cringy, oh God, I can't do this. Like I literally can't hold my experience right now because it's so fucking painful. I've been swearing. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
okay
no,
with
you're
that on the
fine.
podcast. Okay.
Totally allowed.
Um, yeah, for every experience that I have where I'm just sitting there and I'm feeling like I don't want to do this. Like I can't do this. This is way too much. All that I say to myself, it's like over and over and over again, is like, this is just how much you can human. This is just how much you can human. Like, this is just how much you can human. This is okay. Right now, you're at the edge of your human experience. And the more you do this, the bigger that space is going to become and the wider and the farther that edge is going to go. But there's always going to be an edge of your human experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And it's ultimately, like you said, increasing our capacity to just feel all
Mm-hmm.
of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something that I've recognized deeply, especially in this season of my life, is like, sometimes you forget when you hang out with people who are doing this too. But when you have the contrast again of people who are not on this path at all, who don't lean into the discomfort to the degree that a lot of us do, and it's very obvious that their capacity to feel both what you can call the negative and the positive, but really just both sides of the spectrum is just so much smaller. It's like they feel a little bit sad and then they feel a little bit happy, and it's just kind of in between there. There's like a numbness.
Mm-hmm.
And when I experience joy, it's like it's so much greater than it ever used to be. And it's in those moments that I'm reminded, oh, but this is because I also allow myself to feel the depths of the human
Yeah,
experience. And that is the
absolutely.
beauty of it, is like whenever you increase your capacity to be with the discomfort and to go into the fire and really allow yourself to just like go meet those edges, you are increasing your capacity to feel, period. And so through that,
Yes.
you also get the richness of exploring and feeling and experiencing the beauty and the richness that is available here in this human body, which I think is the whole point of being human, right? Is like, how deeply can you actually be here and experience it and feel it through your senses. And especially as a woman, that is so our superpower is to just see the
Yeah.
beauty, smell the beauty, feel it, like
Yes.
be immersed in this life.
I was just gonna say that that is another one of the essences of being a woman, and the just the feminine quality of being all of it, doing all of it all at once. It's like
Mhm.
the feminine, the woman, and I say the feminine because it is like this is very characteristic of women, but it's also like the feminine in the man that actually has this as well. And it's the capacity to be everything all at once. It's like that is the feminine. You know, the masculine is like the observer of everything. The masculine is the one that sees everything, but the feminine is the one that is everything. You know what I mean? And she can be happy, sad, like laughing, crying all at the same time. And that's the beauty of the feminine too, is that the knowing that that is okay, that is not crazy, that is not bad, that doesn't not make sense. It actually makes the most sense because there's layers to every single experience, and there's it's so dynamic to be human that if you can hold it all, you like you said, Lily, you're actually like in full presence with everything that is, not just present to like this piece of your experience that you're only choosing to pay attention to because that's the only part of it that you want. No, no, no. If you're really in the human experience, you are in all of it, not just the parts you want, not just the parts that you are excited about, but like every bit of it. And you can, and that applies for even the happiest of moments, right? It's like, when you're happy, when you're so, so, so happy, there's still like grief, there's still sadness, there's still pain. And to be able to experience like ecstatic joy and still hold grief and pain and sadness, it's like such a paradox to, I would say, probably the majority of the population. But really, we're all doing it all the time. And the people who aren't attuned to it are really just not present with the fullness of their human experience. And that's the gift of the feminine, is to be present with the fullness of the human experience.
Yeah, truly. And it's like this being human is the ultimate paradox. Like it all exists here. It's a duality that we're living in this life where there you can't have one without the other in order to have the experience. And so I think through this work is when you allow yourself to open to that gift of the feminine, of being able to be with all of it and not suppress, deny, restrict parts of it, because then you will also avoid and prevent parts that you actually want to be experiencing. And I think that the work there is to learn how to alchemize and how to feel without like getting pulled into and consumed by any one piece, which is harder harder to say,
God,
but
is it harder? Yes, it is so much
yeah,
harder.
but there's so much magic in that. And this is a beautiful segue into, I wanted to start to unpack some of the lies that women have been sold about what it means to be a good woman, or just
Mm,
how to do life in general to be happy and
mhm.
healthy. And I think that this is one of them that I for myself know so deeply of. I used to think that being contradicting and having these multiple experiences at once was wrong, not how it should be for whatever reason. And I used to really envy women who, from my perspective, had a very strong sense of self, who like had this
Mhm.
like one identity that like every time that I was with her or saw her, it's just like it was her vibe, right? And it was just like her. And I for years tried to like find like what is my thing, what is my vibe, what's my personality, and I could never really find one that actually felt like it. And what I've realized through the journey is that the feminine is all of it,
Mhm.
not only depending on where we're at in our in our cycles. I mean, I think that's a huge part of it, but also just so many flavors, and that's actually what makes it beautiful. And so I'd love for you to speak to that if you resonate, um, because I think that it can, if we reframe that as a good thing, there's such power in embracing that.
I love this so much and I resonate so much because I feel like I had the same journey of like, I need to be one way. I need to be sweet and kind and loving and generous and nurturing and bubbly. And that's how I'm going to be loved. That's how I'm going to find a husband. That's, like that's how it's going to work is if I be that version. And that voice still comes into my mind a lot of the time, like, especially when I meet a woman who I perceive to be
Mhm.
so sweet, so bubbly, so kind. I'm just like, what? Like, no. But yeah, and I still have that voice in me that's like, oh, well, you need to be more like that because that's how you're supposed to be. And I think that voice, I don't think that voice is actually ever going to go away because it's like so deeply ingrained. It's a wound, right? And that's like something about wounding that I've kind of um reframed for myself is that like, and I've started to like move away from the idea of healing because it's less about making something go away and more about coming into the right relationship with a thing and integrating it in a way that's of service and not detrimental. And that doesn't really, that's not the same as healing because healing implies like it's not there anymore. The scar, the wound is not there anymore. Well, the wound will always be there, but can you relate to it in a way that's beneficial to you? So that's there for me too, mama. I feel that. And my version of that is that needing to be the bubbly girl, that needing to be the agreeable, sweet, kind, doesn't make a fuss, doesn't disagree too often, that type of woman. And I'm just not that woman. I'm just like so not that woman. I'm outspoken, I'm opinionated, I am loud, I cry a lot, just have big feelings and big emotions. And I think that this is something that we talk about in the podcast on Babe Philosophy a lot, which is the idea of being too much. Like, I think this is a wound that the majority of women in this society have is the too much wound. Just like the don't be too much. Don't be crazy. Don't be psycho. Don't be weird. Like, just be chill. Like, just be cool. It's like be the cool girl. Like, you want to be the cool girl or you want to be the sweet girl, right? And you don't want to be the too much girl. You don't want to be the girl that causes a scene. And I think there's so much nuance here because it's like, yeah, you don't want to be the girl that's unable to contain herself to the point where she's like essentially vomiting her experiences and her emotions on other people, right? That's where it becomes a problem, where it's like if I make the intensity of my experience your problem, now we're like, okay, this is territory where the too much girl gets a bad rap because it's not the problem. The problem is not that you're having these big emotions and this big experience and that you're having this intense reality. The problem is when you project it onto somebody else, make it somebody else's problem, go out and slash tires, like the problem is when you beat somebody up. Like, but the problem isn't the emotion that you had. And that I think is the nuance in the too much phenomenon that we talk about a lot in Babe Philosophy, where we really encourage the too much, like be too much. Feel that feeling, have that emotion, and create a container for yourself so that you can go all the way in there without it being somebody else's problem, without creating a mess, like go and scream your head off into a pillow. You know what I mean? Like hit it, jump on it, play music really loud, like pull your hair, like get crazy, be crazy as you possibly can, but like do it in a container that is safe and don't, go out and, like I said, slash tires, like punch a bitch, like that's not gonna be the right way to transmute those emotions. But those emotions in and of themselves are good. Like it's okay to want to punch a bitch. It's okay to want to slash somebody's tires. Yes, I get that. I have that feeling. I know what that's like. But am I going to go do that? No, I'm not going to go do that because that's going to cause a cascade of problems that I don't want to deal with. But I do have those feelings, and those feelings are okay. But it's important to remember that those feelings are yours. They're not anybody else's. They're your feelings. So you have to take ownership for them. And it's kind of like a plea to all of us too much women out there to like be too much and like own your too muchness and own it in a way that is safe for you and the people around you so that you can be too much without giving the too muchers a bad rap and hurting people and breaking shit. I mean, break shit, actually break shit, but break your own shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cathartic.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I really love that one because there are all of these like stereotypes, archetypes, like projections of the feminine and womanhood and what types of women are not good, what types of women are good. And there's so much nuance in them. And the too much one is just a example of this version of a woman who is not wrong. Like she's okay and she's so normal and she's so good. And she's in fact arguably like an elevated version of woman because she's in touch with the bigness of her experience. But the nuance is in that what is she going to do with that bigness? Where is she going to take it? And I know both sides of it, right? Like I'm definitely not above making a mess and making it somebody else's problem. I've never slashed somebody's car or like I've never punched anybody, but without consent. But I have I have like started fights, you
Mhm.
know, made messes and made somebody else a problem when really it was my, I have made a mess because of my too muchness and I haven't been um like thoughtful and responsible and accountable for the intensity of my experience. And that's not to say that like you're not allowed to fucking tell somebody what the fuck they did. You know what I mean? Like, but if the intensity of your energy is so big that you actually need to rage, you need to do that by yourself first. And then you can approach the person and be like, hey, look, like what you did was not cool and you're never going to do this again. Um, yeah, so that's one version. I feel like I just rambled for a long time. There's so many other versions of feminine that it's like I want to break the norm, but that is like the biggest one for me because of my own experience of my own too muchness.
Mhm. I love how you explained it with that nuance because I really believe that's where we go from like girl to woman too, is this maturity of recognizing that like our experience is ours. And that doesn't mean like it's like we have these big emotions and this big human experience, especially as a woman, right? We feel so much, we have so many opinions and all of that. And then because of the way that we express it before we know better, before we have matured, we make it the world's problem. We word vomit on people, we hurt people
Yeah.
just in order to like express it, and then we get that feedback, so then we think it's the problem of the emotions of the experience. We suppress that and now we feel like an empty, very disconnected, very, I don't know, just there's something off. And so I love the kind of bridging the gap of like, no, don't make that wrong, but do learn how to manage it and feel it and transmute it in a way that isn't making you the victim, where you say it's because of the world outside of me. And
Yeah.
it's like, I think the beauty of it too is the more that we learn how to feel all of it, but not project it on the world or hurt other people with it, like weaponize, use it as a weapon. It's through that process, that transmutation, that we get to the gold. Like that's how the oracle gets to her her gold,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us a little
Totally.
bit about that process, because I feel like when, again, if you're suppressing emotion, you're suppressing your experience, you're also suppressing all the wisdom.
Yeah,
So it's like we have to be
absolutely.
willing to go into the depths to really like excavate and land at these, at the embodied wisdom and the nuggets and the clarity that we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's what I mean when I say that, like, the too much woman is arguably like an elevated woman because of the intensity of her experience. Because the truth is that through intensity of experience is how we access clarity. So if we have really intense experience and we dilute or we shove down or we put under the rug, then like the there is no room for clarity because we're just filling up with, like, it takes effort, it takes cognitive load, it takes like mindfulness, thoughtfulness, like concentration to not go there, to stay above it, to keep your head above water, right? You're like constantly treading water. And if you're constantly treading water, it's like, I like to use the analogy of like a shipwreck. It's like the intensity of the experience is like the ship has wrecked and you're out in the ocean and you're treading water and you're just trying to keep your head above water, right? And now let's say like somebody comes to you and they're like, you know, let's talk about our relationship. Or your partner comes to you and you're treading water in the middle of the ocean. And they're like, hey, like, I don't like when you do this in our relationship. And you're like, bitch, I'm fucking treading water right now. I do not want to talk about this, right? Like, you have no space. You have no room. You have no capacity because you're just trying to keep your head above water. So when you swim to shore and then you lay on the shore and you're resting and you're breathing and you're coming to and you come back and your body is yours and you're not preoccupied by like keeping your head above water because now you're on shore. Okay, now let's talk about our relationship. Now let's talk about my feelings. Now let's talk about your feelings. It's like your body has to be in, frankly, like a regulated state to have any kind of clarity. And you might think you're regulated because you're acclimated to treading water, but you're not regulated, you're acclimated. There's a difference. It's what you're used to is not what's regulated. So a lot of people are spending their time just like trying to fight these emotions and they're acclimated, but they're not regulated. And it really takes like realizing and becoming very self-aware. Like, for example, for myself, I still have these moments all the time where I'm not regulated, but I'm acclimated to the experience. So I think I'm regulated. And then maybe Matt will come to me with something that like on a normal day maybe would annoy me a little bit, but I'm not going to react to it. And he might say like, can you get off your phone or something like that? Right. Whereas, like, in a regulated state, I'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Or I'll be like, can you give me 1 second? I need to finish this thing. But in a dysregulated state where I don't know that I'm dysregulated, I'll be like, you're always on your phone though. Like, it's like, it's like I'm not coming from clarity. So I think that it takes a lot of like self awareness and recognizing the patterns of your behavior and like, are you being reactive? Are you defending? Do you feel like you need to defend yourself in the face of anybody reflecting anything to you? Like, do you feel agitated? Do you feel like you need to call people out? You know what I mean? Like, are you noticing these behaviors in yourself objectively? Not even like, do you feel this way, but are you noticing that you're defending yourself? Are you noticing that you're calling people out? Are you noticing that you're kind of like encountering drama or like finding yourself in conflict a lot? Like, conflict's good. But if you're noticing a pattern of like being there most of the time, it's probably an indication that you're not regulated. Like, your nervous system is like agitated. So can you slow down? And you post about this all the time, Mama. You're always like, slow down, like that. And it's like, it's so easy to say, right? Because like objectively it makes sense. But to know when to slow down
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard.
And to
And
actually do it.
yes, actually do it. And I will actually put like blocks and I'll like discipline myself because I can't I struggle to slow down. I'm such a go girly that like I will fucking I'll get to the point where I'm like, you are I'll like turn off all the lights in my room and I'll sit on my bed and I'll be like, you're not leaving here until you have done nothing for 10 minutes. Like because it's hard. It's hard to slow down, especially when you're dysregulated. When you're regulated, it's pretty easy to slow down because you're like, I'm chilling. I'm good. Like I can just stop and smell the roses and move a little. Like regulation is everything becomes easier. But when you're dysregulated, when you need to slow down the most, it's the hardest thing to do. But that's when you find the clarity. That's when you can I can sit there and I mean this is a version of the oracle, right? It's like it's so small, but literally when if Matt will tell me get off can you get off your phone? And if I'm able to put my phone down, like that is the oracle. It's a very very like microcosm of a macrocosm of the oracle, but that's her is the ability to know that what he's saying is not personal, right? It's like I can objectively respond to it. I can put my phone down or I can say, I need a few minutes. I'll put it down in a second, instead of whatever reaction of defensiveness I might come up with. So that's kind of like a practical version of like connecting to the oracle and allowing her to come through. That's more of like a day to day life thing. But then that's when you start there, then you start noticing deeper like pieces of the oracle, like intuitive hits that come through, realizations, downloads, like, oh my God, I didn't realize this happened. My whole life I've been, what, like that kind of shit starts coming through.
Yep, the downloads start pouring in. And I
Yeah.
love that you said that, the piece about the nervous system and actually being able to slow down enough and clear the channel, whether that is feeling your emotions or whatever needs to happen to kind of find that clarity, to find that stillness. And I'm curious, other than, I love that you mentioned the practical tip of actually like blocking off some space to do nothing. That, it's sometimes it's the simplest little tricks and habits that can make the biggest difference. Um, because if not, we will just keep doing what we normally do. The mind will always go back to the familiar past and the patterns that it has adopted. And so, other than that, do you have any other tools and practices that have really worked for you to start to regulate yourself to get
Mm-hmm.
to that oracle?
Yeah. I do. And I've like cycled through a lot throughout my life. And some that worked for me in the past don't really work for me anymore. It's like it's always going to be evolving. And I think that like the most important thing is to realize that there's no like cookie cutter toolkit for this kind of regulation and connecting to self. Like you honestly have to find your own. Like you can listen to people's tips and tricks all day, but like you have to find your own. And even if you use like verbatim the one that I tell you, like it's going to be your own version because my version will not work for you, period, dot, end of story, because your nervous system is not my nervous system. And that's just like how it goes. But the one that's been working for me, and I say that because I thought that like all of these teachers out there, I was like, well, they do this and they do this and and I used to just like put them into play for myself. And I was like, well, this is supposed to work, and it wouldn't. And it's like, well, that's not the point. The point is, are you doing what's right for your nervous system? And these are great tips and tricks, but you have to connect to like the ones that work for you. And the one that's been working for me lately is more of like a reminder. Well, yeah, it's a combination of an action plus a reminder. Um, when I get like really, really stimulated and really, really triggered and like really deep in like the messy too muchness, I will, and this is a very common one, is like the moving of the body, right? Because what happens when we are in the messy too muchness is that we are in our heads and we're disconnected from our bodies. And like you know that because you're not paying attention. Have you taken a deep breath? Like, are you breathing? Are you fucking holding your breath? Like, are you panting? Like, and you're doing these things you're not even noticing because you're in your head and you're not in your body. And um, I will notice like little things, like I'm not breathing, or like I'm panting, or I'm clenching my fists, or like my armpits are sweating, or like whatever. I'll notice something is happening that is like an indication of, Meli, you're not with the shit right now. And I will go move my body physically, like go for a walk, or like go to the gym, or like do something like that. But that in and of itself is not enough. Like for me, it's not enough, because what happens to me then is I will say, okay, I'm going to stop this conversation that's making me angry, or stop whatever thing that I'm doing that's just like sending me off track. And I'm going to go move my body. But then what happens in that space when I walk away from the thing initially and start moving my body, my brain rebels. Like it is like pissed off, because all it wants to do is stay with the thing that I was doing and solve it and get to the bottom of it. Right. So when I initially go move my body, it's like, you fucking bitch. No, we are not doing this. Like it's mad. So the reminder for myself has to always be like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Because, and I remember learning for the first time, like from embodiment teachers, or whatever variety of people that I look up to, or on Instagram reels or whatever, like, go move your body if you're too in your head, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. And every time I would do that, it would get worse. Like my experience would get worse. And I'd be like, why is this happening? Because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be freaking doing. And then I realized that I'm literally doing the opposite of what my brain wants to be doing. My mind wants to solve the problem at hand, and I'm literally walking away from the problem. So what's going to happen? The problem's going to get a million times bigger in my mind first, because I'm not addressing the problem. And there's something about the problem that my mind wants to address, even though it's throwing me off, even though it's dysregulating me, even though my body wants to get away. My mind is like, no, do more, 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 get to the bottom. And when I walk away, then my mind is like, we're going to die. We're going to die. If you don't solve this, we're going to die. And so that has really been like, just the other day, I woke up super anxious, and I really wanted Matt to like make me feel better. And he wasn't really available for that, which is not his responsibility. So I had to remove myself and go to the gym. And I was like, we're going to get a divorce. I fucking hate this. Like, this is not okay. And as soon as I get back from the gym, I'm going to tell him we're done, you know? And then, this is going on for like 30 minutes into my workout. And then sure enough, as I get into a rhythm with moving my body, it starts to calm down. I start to like, oh my God, like, oh my God, I'm crazy. Like, wow, I'm bad shit. Oh my God. And I'm starting to like actually get like an objective lens on like the insanity of my thoughts. And then things start to like level out. So the nuance, which is like always, it's like the main thing in babe philosophy. They're always like, what's the nuance? And the nuance in the getting into the body from the mind is like, when you first get into your body and you're abandoning your mind is going to rebel. Like it is being abandoned. You are abandoning it, and it is going to be fucking pissed. So the mantra is, all right, let's make this worse so that we can make it better. Like it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, that's my main tool right now.
I love that. And I love all the nuances because it's so true. And I think that that gets left out of the conversation too much. And then
Totally.
people think it's not working and they
Mm-hmm.
abandon it before it actually
Mm-hmm.
has the chance to work, you
Yep.
know? And it's true because like we've always given into that egoic desire to like feed the problem and figure it out and pour into the very thing that's actually hurting you and others. And so to remove yourself of it is like death to the ego
Yeah.
that wants to survive by maintaining the problems alive, right? And so yeah, it takes a level of it's so interesting how there's all these different parts of us, right? And it takes us stepping into like this higher part, this like higher self, adult like self that's like, I actually know what's best for you, and it's gonna feel worse at first, but like trust me. And I feel like the more you
Mhm.
develop lived proof of that, the easier it is to actually do it in those moments, because it's the last thing you want to do, right? Or
Absolutely.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that, and also thank you for adding the fact that like we each have to find our own. That is, it's just,
Mm.
and that's a good thing, because it helps you discover what actually works for you, knowing that you are continuously evolving. And so in every season, it's going to be an evolution of your practices, of your tools, of what works for you. And if you
Yeah.
actually connect and are willing to try and listen to your body and how it responds, then you have that foundation for it to keep evolving with you. And if you've only ever done what people say is the thing and whatnot, then you still feel really lost on the journey. And so it's actually for your benefit. And I also had to learn that the hard way. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Okay,
My
I want to
pleasure.
dive a little bit into shame, because I think that this lives so deep in so many women, and whether it's around their bodies, their desires, their emotions, their power, you name it, that's what keeps so many of us from actually becoming who we want to be.
Mm.
And I'm curious to hear more about your relationship to shame, like, because, which I also want to double click on from earlier, how you said it's not about healing or fixing or changing, it's about changing your relationship to these things, right?
Mhm.
So even here, shame is something that we might always deal with to some degree, and like
Yeah.
that's part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to have so much weight over you. It doesn't have to control your life and consume you when you shift your relationship to it. So tell us a little bit about your relationship to shame, and yeah, how that has evolved, what you've learned by going on your journey and shifting that.
Mm. Oh, shame is a big one. Shame is an intense one.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, okay. So a few areas. Okay, so I think something that has like really struck me in the realm of being a woman and how shame kind of like guides us through a lot of these this experience that we have in life as women, and zooming in on kind of what we're told to do and told to be, but then also the ways that we have as like a collective rebelled or affirmed these like stereotypes or these ideas, like for example like the feminist movement or the like soft girl era, and like these things that kind of have these like subliminal messages of how we should be as women. And it's like a lot, so some of these were movements for women by women, but it was there's still like subliminal messaging of how to do womanhood correctly, and if you're not doing it this way then you're not doing it right.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the feminist movement is one that like we've unpacked a lot in more modern um spirituality, where uh we've kind of been like, maybe we don't have to be the boss baby, we don't have to be, we've kind of like unraveled this this argument for being equal to men, because we don't actually want to become men. We want to be free and being ourselves. But the feminist movement is the argument for being a man essentially in a woman's body. You know what I mean? And it's like, that doesn't quite hit the mark, right? So there's all of this subliminal messaging through that movement, though, of you need to be a certain way. You need to be a boss. You need to be more masculine. You need to be independent. You need to be working. All of this stuff, right? And then in comes soft girl era, which is like, no, 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 no. you need to be soft. You need to be tender. You know, you need to be at home, taking care of your kids, making a home, you know, nurturing, loving, making flower garlands, you know. It's like, and I get it, right? Like, I get the argument for, hey, wait a second, you know, feminism, we don't have to be like the man. We can be soft and we can want to cook and clean and not want to get a job. And I love that message, but I also think that it's missing the nuance. Just like all of any big message like this, where it's like, okay, now the soft girl era message is sending the message that we have to be soft. But the reality of it is like, no, a lot of what it means to be a fucking woman is strong and she is loud and she is hard and she is big and she is scary. You know what I mean? And soft girl era doesn't really make space for that. So it's like, now when we have these movements, we're subliminally messaging to women that if we're not these things, then we're bad and wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm loud and messy and ugly and, you know, covered in blood with dirt under my nails and in the mud and, you know, like hair gnarled, like I'm not feminine.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true at all. Like, that is the epitome of what it means to be feminine, is to be covered in dirt and mud and messy and gnarled, and that is so feminine. But the soft girl era doesn't make space for that. The feminist movement doesn't make space for that. And so there's all of these ideas of how to be a woman that are, you know, in theory meant to be empowering, right? Like, the feminist movement was meant to, you know, promote women's rights and like let women make money and, you know, all of this really important stuff. And then the soft girl era was really meant to remind women that they don't actually have to be a boss babe. They don't have to make money. They don't have to do all these masculine things if they don't want to. They can be soft and gentle and cook pies and they're still wonderful and feminine, which is also so true and such a beautiful message. But these movements create shame cycles because they don't have space for other options. And then the other options become not okay. And I think that is something that I still hold in my heart a lot when I feel messy, when I feel, you know, just like it's like that witchy, dark, feminine energy that's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever read Women Who Run with Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's like so much like bones and death and like blood and dirt and, you know, like the creepy scary feminine,
You
right? That's
are the earth.
yes.
Like
Yes,
death and
exactly.
rebirth and like the decomposition that happens in order for rebirth to happen, that cycle is constant for women. You can't
Yes.
avoid any part of it.
No, exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, okay, yes, you said it. You said it here first. Lily Terry said it first. There is a movement now of we are the earth women.
I mean, yeah, truly. The earth
Yeah,
is not
totally.
just pretty. Like, have you seen nature and animals interacting in the wild? It is a fucking blood show. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, totally.
And it's
Exactly.
beautiful.
Yes, it is all of the things,
Yeah,
right? It is
yeah.
structured, it is masculine, and it is productive, but it's also really chaotic and messy and gentle and soft and beautiful
Mhm.
and disgusting and all of the things. So, but yeah, I think you asked like my own shame and like the
Your
things that,
relationship to it, yeah.
yeah.
So how have you embraced what you now know, I guess?
Well, I'm still embracing it. I think that there's still definitely like that disgusting, death, yucky version of the feminine is one that I struggle to embrace and accept.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like the too much is one that I struggle to embrace and accept, and that's actually probably my biggest one, is the too much, because the just like the extreme experiences that I have, um it's really hard to get out of the narrative of I'm, bad shit crazy. There's a problem. There's something wrong with me, right? Normal people don't do this. Normal people don't think this. Normal people don't feel this. And I've actually, like, shame and like addiction are such a dynamic duo. And I've struggled with like using, ketamine and weed to stop the flow of intensity of my experience, because I'll experience things so big that I genuinely feel like I'm going to die. Like, I genuinely am like, oh, if I keep feeling this, I am going to lose my mind and go insane and be put in like an insane asylum, or my heart's going to stop beating, or something bad is going to happen. And so I'll just like do like a smoke some weed, do some ketamine, like do a like numbing agent that stops the intensity in its tracks. It doesn't take it away, but it, like, there's this fear of it becoming too much for me to hold. So it like stops it from getting to that point. And not that I actually like, not that that's actually ever happened. It's like the expectation that that's going to happen that I'm afraid of. And that's all shame driven. So I think right now in my life, the biggest experience that I'm having with shame is to like lean into what experiences are driven from it instead of shut it off, because there is ultimately like a cycle that I go through, and I still go through, that is, okay, big experience, okay, you're not supposed to feel this, this is bad and wrong, shame, okay, medicate, okay, now I'm feel ashamed about medicating, and it's just a shame cycle. And so right now my biggest like interface with shame is, can I be with it? Can I just like, can I, like we were saying, just go all the way into it? Can I just be like, okay, I'm a shitty, horrible, disgusting person, and that's okay right now? Like, can I just be in my shame? That for me has been the biggest challenge. And because shame is like the absolute worst experience for me. In my human experience, like, shame is the fucking worst.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so uncomfortable. It makes me want to die. Like, it's not cool. And that's my biggest test right now, is like being with the extent of my shame.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing so honestly and vulnerably. I think it'll resonate with so many people. Definitely resonates with me as well. And yeah, I mean, I think shame is quite literally the closest experience to death, because it's not only did I do something bad, but I am bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is quite literally the scariest thing, because what we most crave is connection and love and, you know, yeah, belonging. And shame is what, like, the opposite of that. And so I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's why it feels so intense for so many people. And yet every single human experiences shame, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
We have different ways to get there. Like, I think for me, so much of my pattern has been um, kind of the opposite of um, like just feeling like I can't fully express, can't, like, I get like, it's like a freeze state more so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this like playing small that I'm like, I want to be too much. Like I want to be bigger, and
Mm.
I'm like so scared to be seen sometimes. Like that has been the pattern for me in my life. And but it leads to the same the same spiral of like, oh, frustration that I'm like, I can't, why can't I just be fully authentic and fully expressed and not care what people think, right? And just actually let it flow through instead of feeling so constricted and scared. And then feeling like I need to numb out as well. And I've also had my vices with weed and ketamine and all the things just to like get some relief of that. Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
I think I've actually recently, or I don't know, as I was doing my research and looking at some of your past reels and the Babe Philosophy page, I think I remember you talking about how this modern world literally forces us to have coping mechanisms because,
Mhm.
and this is like as an invitation to have more grace for ourselves as we are on this journey. It's like, it's okay to just like recognize your humanity and what you're up against because yeah, this modern world doesn't make it very easy, not only with like what we've been taught and the trauma and the conditioning that we're working through, but also just the foods, the environment, the disconnection from nature and from each other. There's so many things that are playing against that. And so yeah, I just want to throw that in as like a way to like have grace, and we're all on this journey, but it is so helpful to remember that the way through is actually just to like slowly increase your capacity to just be with the feelings and know that they will pass.
So true. So true.
Yeah. It's just a journey of, and that's why I think these conversations are so beautiful because they normalize the struggle that it can be,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, the ick. It's yeah, that's really what I want to do more than anything is like give people permission to be in their darkness and to relate to their darkness and to allow their darkness and accept and love their darkness because it's something that because of shame we don't talk about, right? Like for me to share on this podcast that like I struggle with coping mechanisms. I struggle with my relationship to ketamine. I struggle with these things. It's like, I don't want to be sharing that. I don't want to be experiencing that. I don't want people to know that about me. I want people to think that I'm perfect. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, in not sharing, in not divulging. I am not divulging the fullness of myself. And I'm also missing an opportunity to give people permission to do the same and to really like own the fullness of whatever their experience is right now, where they're at right now, and not to pretend to be otherwise. And, it's hard. It's hard to be that honest about what the fuck is going on with you. But um it's important. I think it's really important. I think it's really important when somebody asks you how you are to say how you are. And
Mm-hmm.
not to say
I
I'm good.
agree. Yeah. It's like, how
Yeah.
long do you have?
Yeah. Yeah. I can
That's a
give you the
long.
short version or the long version. I'm
Yeah.
not good or I'm good, or we can get into that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've started just saying I'm all the things because it's honestly
Mhm.
true. Like I feel both the joy and the love and the awe for this human experience in the same moment that I feel the grief and the struggle and the like, oh my God, I can't do it anymore. It's like it's
Mhm.
all present. It just depends like which one do I want to focus on right now, which one's a little bit more alive. And again, I think that and even with like sharing these experiences, it's what's beautiful is that I can tell that we have started, and it's like, we're still on this journey very much so, but we have started to shift our relationship to the sabotage, the shame, the coping mechanisms, all of it. And that's what liberates you from it to be able to share it. And it's still hard, I might still have some like, what do I call it? The vulnerability hangover that I often have
Mhm.
after these podcasts. And it's okay, that's part of it. But when you do relate to it differently, meaning I don't see shame as I'm not ashamed of my shame anymore, or at least not as much as I was, then it's okay. It can be there
Yep.
because it is there at times, like we are human, we have these experiences. And so I think yeah, it's a beautiful practice to start to be honest about how you're feeling. And the
Mhm.
way to do that without it being impossible because you're so constricted and scared is to for you to change the narrative of like, what am I making this mean?
Yep. Yeah, totally. And the nuance there too is like I think that sharing how we're doing when somebody overshares, when somebody's just like, oh, this that my mom is sick, my wife left me, like that's it. There's an oversharer that
Mm.
gets a bad rap, which makes us feel like when somebody asks us how we're doing, we have to be like, oh, I'm good. How are you? And it's like the thing there, the problem there is not that the person's oversharing, it's that the energetics of it's all energetics. The
Yeah.
person who's oversharing about their divorce, their mom being sick, they're looking to be helped and fixed. They're looking for you to do something about how they're wanting something from you. They want empathy, they want sympathy, they want something from you. And that doesn't feel good. But if you're able to just honestly say, like, I'm having a hard time right now, there's a lot going on in life, and that's an honest share, and I don't expect you to do anything about it, that's real. Like, that's good. Like, do that, practice that. Don't just say you're good. You know what I mean? Like, it's in the nuance where these things get a bad rap and then we stop doing them and then we start to like shut ourselves off from our energetic flow because we don't want to be the girl that makes a mess. We don't want to be the oversharer. We don't want to be the, whatever. So we just opt for the opposite end of the spectrum, which is stifling, and doesn't allow us to be with the fullness of our experience, even if it is shameful.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. It's all about, there's no like cookie cutter thing, like do this, not that, do it this way. It's really learning at the end of the day, like, can I start to take responsibility over my human experience and recognize the energy with which I am doing anything and the nuance through that. And that is a forever journey that we just get a little bit better at each time. And it comes through trial and error, through fucking up, through oversharing, and then being like, that didn't feel right because it came from a
Yeah.
place of,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Be willing to fuck up. That is a great
Uh-huh.
one. It's like be willing to do it wrong and then learn from that and then do it a
The
little
only
different
way.
time. Yeah.
Hmm. So speaking of not being afraid to, it's not even do it wrong, but just kind of stumble along the way, learn along the way. As we start to wrap up this conversation, I would love to dive a little bit into Babe Philosophy, which is your podcast, and we'll include the link below so people can go check it out, and learn more and dive into those conversations. But tell us a little bit about Babe Philosophy, and then also the process of bringing something through that felt like a passion because, kind of to bring it full circle from your story earlier of how so many of your pursuits were externally driven through what you thought you had to do.
Yeah.
I know that for you, Babe Philosophy was one big step forward in you finding your own path and like bringing something into the world that genuinely felt like yours. And so I'm sure that came with all sorts of lessons along the way and conditioning you had to overcome. And so just give us a little nutshell version of what that process was like for you.
Yeah, well, Babe Philosophy was a reclamation for both me and Liv, my co-host. We were in relationships. I was with Matt, and then me and Matt broke up, and I started Babe Philosophy with Liv, who had also gotten out of a relationship, and we had lost ourselves in those relationships. We had forgotten who we were. We'd lost touch with our power. We'd played a role of who we thought, our men wanted us to be, and we didn't even realize until the relationships were over, and we realized, oh my god, I have lost my essence. I have lost, like, yeah, the essence of me. Like, what the fuck have I been doing? Like, I'm dead inside. I'm numb. I don't have any fire for myself because I've used all of my fire for this person. Um, and delivered it in a way that they didn't even want. You know what I mean? So I was actually not servicing anybody ultimately. And we decided to start Babe Philosophy to really grapple with we were really grappling with in our conversations, me and Liv, we were talking about like our observing our behaviors, observing our shame patterns, observing our heartbreak, observing like what the emptiness we were feeling, the pains we were feeling, the like what it means to be feminine in this darkness. You know, what is the dark feminine? Like all of these like existential questions and like philosophical questions and that were coming up as a result of basically like hitting a rock bottom. You know, it's like that rock bottom place is a really magical place because it you can't look down anymore. You are at the bottom. You have to look up. Like the only direction you can look is up. Even if it is just 1 inch above the bottom, it's still up. And you see things differently from that perspective, from that vantage point. When you're at the bottom looking up, you're not from the top looking down anymore. And all of a sudden you see like all the things that were backwards when you were looking in the other direction. And just realizing all the ways that we made ourselves small, and we started Babe Philosophy to really like talk about it, talk about all of, and not as like a revenge, not as a like we hate our exes. And I'm sure a lot of that came through because we were in our like fiery experience, but that wasn't the intention. Like the intention was to one, first and foremost, process our own questions together and to really explore what it means to be a woman, what it means to be human. And we got excited about the idea of having those conversations in a way that other people could hear them because we suspected that a lot of other people were having the same questions and wanting to explore them in the same way that we were. And that essentially came through the deepest, darkest place that either me and Liv has ever been. Um, and that's really how it happened. That's the nutshell.
Mm-hmm. And then you recently went all in, which was a huge jump from letting go. I mean, I don't know. We haven't caught up recently. I don't
Yeah.
know if this is still all your, like, where the
Yeah.
path is taking you. But even that step, like, again, I think that this is zooming out. Like, this is such a big part of the journey of starting to create a life that is true to you and breaking free from the societal conditioning of what your life should be that is ultimately not fulfilling you, and
Yeah.
finding your unique path. And it takes facing a lot of fear and a lot of, yeah, just pieces that have been put there to protect you from going there. And so I'm just curious to hear a little bit about that for you.
Yeah. I did go all in back in March, which was like 6 months ago. And that has been an interesting journey. I have had to constantly like reevaluate what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And, you know, because what really happened was when I did that, I kind of put Babe Philosophy at risk for no longer being my passion and now being the thing that has to produce something for me. And that's kind of a dangerous game to play with something that's so creative and so passionate because you
Mm-hmm.
can like very, very quickly kill it. When it is under the pressure of needing to be more than just a passion project. And I started to feel that, and I got like a couple of part-time positions for the main purpose of not like killing this
Suffocating it.
for me. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear that so deeply. And again, the nuance,
The
right?
nuance, baby. It's
It's
all
just
in the
true.
nuance. I
Yeah.
swear to God, if there is anything that is like the most important thing to take away from this conversation, it is nuance. And energetics.
Everything.
Those are the two things. It's like it is nothing matters unless you're focused on the energetics and the nuance.
Yeah, dude. And what's actually true for you in each moment.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Like I was asked this too, because back in the day, a couple years ago, I also went all in, and I like quit the restaurant job and I went all into my business, and I like posted an episode about it because I was like in this like fiery energy of like finally I just fucking like, burn the ships and whatnot. And I had someone ask me on a podcast recently who's like kind of at the beginning stages and wanting to quit her side gig too, and listened to that podcast and was like, how was it? And I was like, it wasn't the answer she wanted to hear, but it was like because of the nuance. It was like for me in that moment, I had to do that in order to face the part of me that was so terrified of letting go of the security and whatnot, and just
Yeah.
prove to myself that I would figure it out. And then
Yeah.
ultimately that was my lesson. But it's not about does it work, does it not, is this the right thing, is it not. It's about who are you becoming in the process, what are you learning, what is the medicine that you're needing right now, and life will deliver that. And it's as long as
Mm-hmm.
you don't make it mean something about yourself, it's just part of your journey of learning more about how to navigate life in each moment.
Yes. So true. That is so true. Yeah, mine wasn't, I don't think mine is the answer anybody want to hear either. You know what I mean? But it is exactly what you said. Like it is a step that I needed to take
Mm-hmm.
to gain clarity and information. And every decision that I make ever in life is no matter how much of a fail it is or no matter how messy it is, it's like a decision that I needed to take and make for the information that I needed to move forward.
You
Yeah.
have to be willing to risk it and learn from it, and not be so attached to the outcome, but just recognize that whatever happens, you're going to learn from it and you're going to grow from it, and it's okay. And so that's kind of
Mhm.
the journey. And yeah, cheers to being on that journey together.
Cheers to that, baby.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for you, and so grateful to
Mm.
it's just nice to be surrounded by women who get it and who support each other and who are out of the competition, because I was there for so long too. And yeah, those sisterhood wounds are that could be a whole nother podcast, but it's
Oh my
just
God, yeah.
it's really nice to have women like you in my life, and I'm grateful for you
Mm.
and all your wisdom. And before we jump off, I'd love for you to share. I mean, I'll include Babe Philosophy below, but is there anything else you want to share with people on how they can connect with you? Anything you wanna share?
Yeah, we're on all of the platforms. You can find our podcast anywhere. And then also on Instagram and TikTok at babe.philosophy. And I'm at Meli Wolf, MELIWOLF. And that's pretty much it. Oh, our website also at babephilosophy.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll include that below. So many more juicy conversations to dive into. And other than that, I love you so much. Thank you for coming on.
I love you. Thank you for having me, Mama. Mwah.
Bye, everyone. We will talk to you later.